Good afternoon and welcome to the Renfrew County Housing Corporation Annual General Meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order with the land acknowledgement. As we gather this afternoon, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Do we have a roll call?
Yes, roll has been taken and we have quorum.
Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, let us move on to the adoption of minutes of previous meeting held June 15th, 2022, which is attached. My question is, there was not many of us in this room that were at that meeting. Can we...
You can just, Chair, you just receive it as information.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. That obviously is being received for information. And we're going to move on to our general business of the day, which is a review of the 2022 audited financial statements for Renfrew County Housing Corporation. And I believe, Lori, you are going to walk us through that. Welcome to Renfrew County today.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my real pleasure to be here before you to speak to the highlights of the fiscal 2022 financial statements. It's certainly my first time being here before you to share the results of our audit, having just been appointed as external auditors for the corporation, beginning with the fiscal year 2022. I will try and share my screen. I know that the deck was pre-circulated in advance of today's meeting, so just bear with me here and hopefully it will come. Hopefully you see something that says KPMG Renfrew County Housing Corporation on your screen.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, so it is a lengthy document. However, what I will do here this afternoon is bring you the highlights of the audit, being respectful of your time and hoping you've had at least a little bit of a chance to read through the deck in advance of today. So the audit highlights here on your screen show you really at a short version of the findings here today is that the audit did go quite well this year. It was a transition year for KPMG to be onboarded as your external auditor. So as part of that review, very early on in the fiscal year, we met with the predecessor auditor and reviewed their files to make sure that we were comfortable with the opening balances that ultimately are incorporated in the 2022 audit. So that is uniquely different for the first year of transition. You'll see that in the draft auditor's report that we've included in your package as well. So that will certainly be a one-time only fiscal 2022, and that will move away in 2023. So jumping into it, I will hopefully just touch on the highlights, not going through everything, really put a lot of slides in here really to give you some information and some perspective in terms of the audit. But where we are today with respect to the audit is we are essentially complete, subject to the conversation here today. Assuming the financial statements are accepted and approved by the board, we will be in a position to release our audit report in final. Our draft audit report is included in this package along with the financial statements themselves. It is a clean audit opinion that states that in our opinion, we believe the financial statements do present fairly in all material respects the fiscal activities for the year ended December 31, 2022. Part of our audit, of course, in any financial statement audit does include the concept of materiality. It is meant to say what would change a user's decision on the financial statements. It is our professional judgment as the auditors to set a level of materiality to carry out our audit. There are certain quantitative factors that need to be considered along with any qualitative items that we might see through the course of our work. The next slide here is where we put some numbers to the page to give you a sense of the detail of our audit. So in terms of fiscal 2022, we executed our audit in accordance with the overall financial reporting materiality of $400,000. To the extent we identified any differences in the accounts from what management had recorded compared to what we thought should have been recorded, had discussions with the team for any of those amounts in excess of $20,000. There is one amount, but certainly individually, relative to overall materiality, certainly nothing to get excited about, and we will touch upon that in a minute. However, for sectors like yourselves, in terms of the quantitative range the handbook will allow, we can go anywhere between 0.5% to 3%. We tend to land closer to 3% for entities such as yourselves. Being the first year, we shied back a little bit from the overall 3%, but you can see we're certainly in range, consistent with the previous year as well. And it's based on the benchmarks that you see here on your financial statements, which are generally on the order of about $14 million of activity, being total revenues and total expenses. I will skip through the next few slides because it is meant to give you a little bit of insight in terms of our risk assessment. I think the only thing really to share today, because we are new and a different firm before you, is that a KPMG audit approach is meant to be a risk-based audit approach. So meaning we stand back, look at the financial statements as a whole. We do audit a number of housing corporations, and interestingly enough, they do look fairly similar across the board. So our risk assessment is based on the knowledge of yourselves along with your peers, and certainly fleshing out procedures to mitigate any risks. I would say overall, generally speaking, we went in the audit with a planned low risk assessment, and certainly based on our findings, certainly would support that overall low risk assessment, which I think from your perspective, being those charged with governance, is a good news story as well. So in terms of the actual numbers that you'll see in the financial statements, we have identified one amount that is not corrected in the financial statements. And you can see here the aggregate amount is $145,000, which again, back to the previous slide, certainly well less than materiality. And what it relates to is the way that the transactions are recorded between the county itself and the housing corporation. A little bit of a timing difference, I think, is probably the best way to describe it. So some capital activity that's sitting on the county books today that will eventually come over to the housing corp. It does relate to 2022. It's not recorded there, but overall, that was the only item that we identified through the course of our audit. And you can see here, if it was to be recorded, you would increase your assets and you would increase the capital revenue or the donation that's coming across from the county in terms of the historical practices of the transactions related to capital activity. So that's the only item that we identified through the course of the audit. So I'd say, relatively speaking, certainly speaks to the quality of the books and records in terms of the accounting for the housing corporation. Next slide here, just as a reminder, or maybe perhaps new information. So a KPMG audit for sure, and I think any financial statement audit is really meant to say, what are some of the internal controls around financial reporting? They are meant to be incorporated into a financial statement audit. So certainly this year in fiscal 2022, spent some time with the team understanding the significant processes, systems, and controls that culminate into that financial reporting process, because ultimately, not opining on the process itself, more the numbers, but certainly have a requirement to spend some time on the understanding. So we've done that this year, and you can see at the bottom of the page, no significant items to bring to your attention, which is also a good news story. In terms of other items that we identified through the course of our audit, I won't go through any of these in real detail, but to the extent we might not identify any significant deficiencies, to the extent we identify any areas of best practice or any areas that in our view should warrant attention, we will highlight those here. And that's what we've done here in terms of accounts receivable. I would say, taking a look at receivables, interestingly enough, I think post-COVID and during COVID, there were some changes, certainly in terms of the powers that you had in terms of collecting aged amounts. We're seeing this, generally speaking, across a lot of housing corporations, quite honestly, for fiscal 2022. But just being mindful of the collection risk as amounts age and amounts are outstanding, certainly a recommendation there from our perspective to make sure that that is certainly top of mind to make sure that we mitigate the collection risk in the future. Amounts we saw this year certainly aren't significant, but it's certainly a theme that we are seeing and likely will continue to see, certainly with the market the way it is as well. Second item I would say is fairly minor in nature, something that we see more broadly with the other organizations that we work with. In terms of the Housing Corporation here, we are aware that the corporation doesn't actually file what we call an AIR, or an annual information return, with the county. It is a means or a mechanism to be able to finely tune the do-tos and the do-froms between the Housing Corporation and the county. Although it's not required, it is a useful exercise. So in terms of our recommendation, giving some thought there in terms of what future year-end reconciliation processes might entail. In terms of the books and records themselves, you will see in the notes to the financial statements, the Housing Corporation reports under what we call public sector accounting standards. There were no new changes to the standards or the financial reporting framework in fiscal 2022. So they might look and feel a little bit different in terms of the KPMG way this year, but certainly the substance and the content of the statements have not changed year over year, which is certainly what we were expecting. However, at the bottom of the page, certainly taking the opportunity now across all entities, such as yourselves, to say that there is a fairly pervasive, significant new accounting standard coming into play in fiscal 2023 related to asset retirement obligations. So we will continue to have conversations with management to make sure that they are well in hand in terms of the implementation of this new standard, because it will have financial reporting implications. And I've given you a lot of information to the extent there's any interest in terms of what that new standard does look like for fiscal 2023. So with that, I will pause here on Appendix 1, and then I will break for questions. So just as a reminder to the group, in order for us to be engaged as your external auditor, we need to be very much mindful of our independence. So to the extent we might provide a lot of bookkeeping, a lot of accounting, or any other non-audit type services, we need to be upfront, transparent with respect to those. So pleased to report here today, there's certainly nothing from our perspective in any of those areas that might be thought to encroach on our independence. So with that, I will pause. The balance of the presentation is really informational items, not specifically unique to yourselves. So I will stop sharing my screen so I can see you again and welcome any questions from the group.
Thank you. Are there any questions from? I see none. So I guess it's just a great big thank you.
Wonderful.
All right. I'm sure that if any of our staff have questions, they can reach you at any time, I'm assuming?
Absolutely.
All right. Be sure to drop in Renfrew County sometime you're a little closer.
I'm coming there in 2 weeks, actually. Going to be there June 28th. So looking forward to it.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Take care. Bye for now.
I see that our manager of Housing and Homelessness annual report will be presented in August. And is there any new business? So we're going to go on to the Renfrew County Housing Corporation. No? Oh, sorry. Okay. Thank you. All right, we have the auditor's report recommendation that is going to be passed over to you.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members of the Renfrew County Housing Corporation Board of Directors. That was a very concise report that was presented, and I'm very thankful for the documentation that came forward. I now have a recommendation to read to you. You'll find this on page 4 of the package. And the recommendation is that the draft auditor's report for the Renfrew County Housing Corporation for the year ended December 31st, 2022 be approved.
Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by the councillor from Killaloe Haggerty Richards and seconded by Township of Whitewater. Thank you. Would you like to go to the background, please?
Thank you, Chair. The background, as you have heard from the auditor, Lori, she has presented the report. The package is also included in your electronic package, and of course, we have the summary report as well. As Lori had indicated, that their audit is complete, subject to your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions you might have? All right then. Okay, yeah. If we have no other questions, all those are in favor? Thank you. Passed. Yeah, this is the closest. This is the fastest meeting I've ever been to. I didn't learn that obviously yet. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Thank you, Councillor from Town of Petawawa, and seconded by Councillor from Pembroke. All those in favor? Thank you. Now we can move on to the Renfrew County Housing Corporation. Call to order. Land acknowledgement again? No. Roll call, I assume, stays the same. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none. We need to adopt the minutes of the previous meeting held on May 17th, 2023. You'll have to give me a minute, I have to get there. You're going to have to forgive me. Yeah, would you? Well, you don't have to send it to. It is here. I just can't get to it. Does anybody have it in paper? Do you have it in paper? Thank you. Thank you. All right. We're going to move to director's report first. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't have the minutes available. We're going to adopt the minutes of the previous meeting. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor from Petawawa, seconded by Councillor from Killaloe Haggerty Richards. All those in favor? Thank you. And now we can move on to no delegations at this time. And the director's report is on page 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My report contains an information item, which is the Community Housing Capital Projects update. This is normally spoken to by Manager of Real Estate Kevin Raditz, as he has very detailed knowledge. He will have an opportunity, with your indulgence, Chair, to outline the 2023 capital projects update as of May 31st. Can I ask that I pass this over to Mr. Raditz?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. So in item number 1 is the attached appendix is the 2023 capital projects for the RCHC portfolio. And as you can see, currently there's 6 projects in progress, and they're advancing well. 2 of the projects will be completed at the end of by the end of this month, And we have, I think, 2 other projects that will be commencing in early July, and then with some other projects that will be tendered in July and August as well. And Chair, I'll just stop there.
Do we have any questions? Comments? Thank you. We can move on to, yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Item number 2 is a resolution and recommendation. I'll go ahead and read the recommendation, Chair.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Carry over from 2022 capital to 2023 capital. The recommendation is that the Renfrew County Housing Corporation Board of Directors approve the carryover of 1 project from the 2022 capital replacement of the flat roof at 8 Burwash Street, Arnprior, Ontario, to our 2023 capital. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No? No questions? Yeah, oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I have it all here, except I can't see it. Okay, could I have a mover, please? The councillor from Township of Whitewater, and seconded by the warden. Go ahead.
Thank you. The background is in the report. It was an oversight in terms of putting this forward for our 2023 capital plan. It was omitted, and we do apologize for that. So we are just outlining here that we have $174,304 that we need to carry over to complete this project in this year. Thank you.
Any questions, concerns, comments? All those in favor? Carried. And I gather that ends the report from, yes, now we're going to, it doesn't seem we could possibly be going this quickly. Yes, yeah. Next on the Manager of Housing and Homelessness monthly report, please. Ms. Dombrowski. Oh. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. We need approval of the director's report. All those in favor? But we miss it. Okay. Moved by Councillor from Pembroke and seconded by Councillor from Killaloe Haggerty Richards. All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, Manager of Housing and Homelessness, Jennifer Dombrowski.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Through you, Chair, to the board. The manager's report begins on page 5 of your package. And there is one item of business, and that is a business case staffing report. May I go ahead and read the recommendation? The recommendation is that the Renfrew County Housing Corporation Board of Directors approve the addition of a community housing coordinator position for a period of up to 6 months, and further that Finance and Administration Committee and County Council be so informed.
I have a mover and seconder for this report. Yes, the councillor from Killaloe Haggerty Richards and the councillor from Pembroke. Can we have the background, please?
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to the board. Some information to highlight from the background. This carries over from previous committee meetings that we've had over the last several months regarding discussions about increasing arrears within the Renfrew County Housing Corporation portfolio, and the increasing arrears are the result of non-payment of rent. So this business case is looking to add a new position, a position that is not currently existing within the County of Renfrew or Renfrew County Housing Corporation, to be able to take a lead role in working on attending LTB cases, so that's the Landlord and Tenant Board hearings, preparing all necessary paperwork that would go along with that, as well as a very concerted effort for arrears collection. The effort for arrears collection would include activities focused on an enhanced approach to tracking all of their arrears. And I believe that it will match nicely with the recommendation that we've just seen from the auditor. So if we were to rewind and go back to the report from the auditor at the AGM meeting on page 33, there is a recommendation for policy regarding the implementation of a more precise allowance for doubtful account provisions that considers active tenants with overdue balances. And furthermore, the recommendation focuses on an approach where there would be periodic systemic reviews for the accounts for collectability that are prudent to assess collection risk on a timely basis. So these are activities that definitely could be incorporated within the responsibilities of this new position. This position is being triggered at this time for a recommendation outside of normal process where we would normally recommend new positions at the time of budget. New information came to light after the province announced their budget for 2023, and within that they announced that there would be an increase to a financial allocation for the Landlord and Tenant Board over a period of 3 years to the tune of $24 million to assist with the backlog that is a big issue across Ontario for all landlords, including Renfrew County Housing Corporation. So we're already seeing an increase to workload in this area. We are already seeing an increase to the amount of hearings being scheduled. Starting in August, in September, and October, we're seeing the volume increase. And for these reasons, the business case has been presented. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure there's going to be a few questions with this. Maybe not. Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Jennifer. I'm just wondering about timelines in terms of hiring this individual. Sometimes there's a process that takes a while in posting a job and getting applicants, going through the process, or is this something that's going to be filled internally? And is there a time pressure here to get this person in place?
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to the board. Our plan is to advertise this position once approved to internal candidates of the County of Renfrew. Time is of the essence, as we would like to get working on this important work of keeping up with the Landlord and Tenant Board activities, being able to have the capacity to initiate new applications, the capacity to respond to hearings that are in queue, and the capacity to be able to make some meaningful efforts towards collections of arrears.
Councillor from Whitewater.
Thank you, Chair. And just to further that from Councillor Petawawa, I think it's important work, and I completely support the proposal. I'm a little bit concerned in the back of my mind whether 6 months is going to be long enough, and I'm just hoping that we can include an update at midterm to allow sufficient time for it to be processed, to extend, to find the funding to extend if that is required, rather than waiting till the end. And I noted, although you spoke to the policy, is part of the deliverable for this employee also to write the policy that you referred to in the audit? Thank you.
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you, through you, Chair, to the board. So part of the intent of this position is to revise and create new policies for Renfrew County Housing Corporation where policies are absent or require updating. And the recommendation from the auditor is new, but we're seeing the synergy there where this is a good fit for that position to take on that task. As for, length of position, at this point, we're only able to move forward with the recommendation for the remainder of 2023. Excellent point regarding evaluation. I do plan to evaluate the outcomes, the deliverables of this position as we move forward month by month, and I'm prepared to communicate that back to the board, and we'll need to assess where things are at and determine whether or not this is a recommendation that goes forward for consideration in the 2024 budget.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Comments? Thank you. I think you've hit the nail on the head when you talk about timing on this. It's not soon enough, but will it be long enough? I guess we'll have to see. All right, we have movers, and now all those in favor. It is carried. Thank you. Yeah. And adopt the minutes of the previous meeting, May 17th, 2023. Can I have mover, seconder, please? Moved by Councillor from Petawawa, seconded by Councillor from Whitewater. All those in favor? Thank you. That is for information only. Those? Yeah. All right, is there any new business? None at this time? Yes, we did, yeah. No? We have to adopt the full report. Okay, the report as a whole. Okay, and the report as a whole, mover and seconder, please. Council Warden and the councillor from Pembroke, please. Okay, all those in favor? Thank you. All right, no business, no new business, no closed meeting at this time. The date of the next meeting will be Wednesday, August 16th, and we will adjourn at 1:33. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor from Whitewater, Councillor from Pembroke, all those in favor? Thank you. All right, moving right along, we're going to call to order the Community Services Committee meeting. I'm assuming that the roll call remains the same. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, I'd like to adopt the minutes of the previous meeting held on May 17th, 2023. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Councillor from Killaloe Haggerty Richards, seconded by Councillor from Whitewater. All those in favor? Thank you, carried. Any delegations? None at the time of mailing. Community Service Department. The department report will be coming to us from Ms. Lapine. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. My report begins on page 2 of your package. The first information item number 1, call to action on housing and homelessness. And this is an information item for you to consider from Northumberland County regarding the AMO, or Association of Municipalities of Ontario, call to action on housing and homelessness. you'll see attached the details of that particular resolution that is included in your package. Item number 2 is the Association of Municipalities of Ontario Ending Homelessness Symposium. I was very honored and privileged on May 3rd and 4th to be joined with the warden at the AMO Symposium on Ending Homelessness. It was a well-attended symposium with a multitude of excellent presentations and speakers. There were a lot of innovative ideas that were presented. There were information items that came from across Canada, so it wasn't just limited to Ontario, although we had several presentations from service managers in Ontario talking about how they are working on homelessness and addressing the whole issue of housing, attainable housing, the effects of the pandemic on the homelessness population, the link between homelessness and very poor health indicators, the link between mental health and addictions and homelessness, and the need for more funding and a more sustainable approach to housing and homelessness. There were people in attendance that presented who had lived experiences that spoke to their own experience of being homeless and how they have worked with different programs and services to really highlight the other side of homelessness. We often see homelessness from a service management side, and the lived experience presenters really spoke about what it felt like, what it was for them, and how important it was to have a home. There was pretty strong consensus that homelessness is best solved by having homes, to having places for people to live in. And that became very clear throughout the 2 days of presentations, where having a stock of housing for people to move into was absolutely important. Having supportive housing is also very important. And I was very pleased to hear from the Deputy Minister on her congratulations to the warden on the 7 and 7 plan that the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus had put forward. It was a very good event, and I believe that a lot of the information that I was able to bring back will be definitely used in our planning moving forward. Item number 3 is the Town of Renfrew Housing Action Plan. This is to let committee know that the Town of Renfrew is undertaking an attainable housing action plan, looking at the needs of various forms of housing in their community. Myself and other staff with the County of Renfrew participated in activities related to consultations and information. That work is continuing. They are continuing to have a 3rd session, which will involve more community agencies in the community, and our Manager of Housing and Homelessness will also participate in some of the work of that particular group. Item number 4 is senior women living together, and I bring this forward to you to let you know that I've had an opportunity to meet with one of the program component. She's involved with this program. They're a program that originated in Peterborough. They want to move into our area. They wanted to understand how we manage housing and homelessness through the county and see if there's an opportunity for us to work together. It is a new program, but it is about matching senior women to housing and other women in housing. And it's very successful to date, and we're going to have more opportunity to converse on how this could apply in our community. It is a program that is not here currently, but they are hoping to bring it into Renfrew County in the near future. Item number 4 is to keep committee informed of what is happening through some business cases that have been put forward in both the Development and Property Committee and, of course, the Renfrew County Housing Corporation. And the Development and Property Department has submitted a business case to hire an infrastructure coordinator on a full-time basis, utilizing funds through the Homelessness Prevention Program Administration funding. This particular position was brought on last year in a contract role. I believe that Mr. Davis, who is the Director of Development and Property, could maybe speak a little more detail to this if you're willing. Chairs, he could probably describe a little bit more of the intention of this position so that you have a good understanding of what this new position is going to entail. Thank you.
Please do.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. So Ms. Lapine was correct when back in 2022, this position was created as a term position or a contract position as we kind of feel our way through the process of what this person would bring to our table. As we all know here at this table, we have an aging infrastructure. Our assets, our buildings are at a point now where we're going to need more and more time and effort to maintain these assets. And now with the additional funds from HPP, we can see this person, this position, instead of being a contract position, we see the need for this for all the projects we've been doing, including some of the critical new things that have popped up even this year between a fire, the flooding, some of the other things that have happened currently. So we see the need for this. We do have the funds, the additional funds of around $16,000 to make this person or this position into a full-time position. And we see the need for this, and that's why at DNP, or the Development of Property Committee yesterday, they approved of this moving forward to County Council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
I'll continue. I can continue with my.
Yes, on the Ontario Works Division report? No. Yes. Yeah, she just has to finish. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Do you want to take the question first
It's
or
okay.
wait?
It's all right. Go ahead. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. My question is in regards to Bill 25. I think it's 25, affordable housing, or is it Bill 23? I just can't. 23. Anyway, you know, where the province is encouraging more and more housing units to be built on single-family type lots, R1, R2s, to promote more housing for, you know, for people that are looking for housing, affordable housing, and that affordable housing ratio is based on the market value number, whatever that is. But in my opinion, it's still unaffordable to many people. You know, the province is saying, well, this is affordable based on the market value ratio. What is that? I mean, if a home's worth $699,000 and there's two low-income earners, it's out of their realm. They can't afford it. I think the province has to be more sensitized to the fact that there are many people, especially in Renfrew County, that, you know, are not in a high-income bracket, but are still seeking affordable housing. So how do we bring that forward to the province? I mean, you know, the gibbly-gawk as well. Everybody's going to have a place to live based on market value ratio, whatever that is. But I really feel that it's still it's putting a lot of people behind the eight ball, and there's got to be some sort of administrative way of bringing that affordable housing, in quotation marks, to actually make the house affordable based on an individual's income, not based on the market value of the house. Thank you.
You're preaching to the choir. Instead of affordable, I think when it comes to Renfrew County, we have to think about, is it attainable? And that's the word I want to hear more than affordable. Do you have a comment? Do you have a comment?
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. I think you know, you've certainly identified that we are all on that same page and have heard many times the issues around affordable and attainable. I do want to note that at last month's County Council, there was approval to move forward with delegation requests for the AMO conference later this summer, and we don't know yet if any have been approved, but we certainly have put forward a request to the Minister of Housing as well, and that is part of the package of information that we want to present. It's a very interesting concept in that, you know, we need more homes. We need more infrastructure, and when we have more infrastructure, then people have more choices. So, you know, where it begins is probably building more homes, but at this point in time, we're all lobbying across the province for more affordable and attainable housing. Thank you.
We can move on to the Ontario Works. Oh, you want to finish? Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to also highlight in item number 5 under business case, and thanking my colleague, Mr. Davis, in his description of the Development and Property Department case, but also just to bring to the committee what took place in Renfrew County Housing Corporation board meeting, where we put forward a business case for a contract community housing coordinator position that will help address the growing arrears that we have within Renfrew County Housing Corporation and the new landlord-tenant board hearings that are being scheduled fast and furious. So wanted to make sure this committee was aware as well that this has gone forward and has at this point been approved by Renfrew County Housing Board of Directors. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. On to the Ontario Works Division report.
Sorry, can I just
Yes.
interrupt? If usually the protocol is to go back through if you go back through item number 1 through. Thank you.
As we go back, is there any comment on call to action on housing and homelessness? Yes, Councillor from Whitewater.
Thank you, Chair. And I see this as an important resolution from Northumberland County, and I'm wondering if there's any appetite within the committee for us to do recommend a similar resolution to our county, and even to speak to attainable versus affordable, if that's not already been done. Thank you.
All right, I think the warden is going to tell us.
I thought we had done something similar in April or May when we supported the AMO call to housing. So we had a similar motion already, and I think when the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus presents either in June or later on, we'll have a motion that supports that initiative as well. But I thought we'd supported the AMO one in April or May. And my apologies. But
Where's our historians? She's over here. It's familiar to me as well.
Continue on. We'll come back to that moment.
All right, thank you. Number 2, Association of Municipalities of Ontario Ending Homelessness Symposium. Yes.
Yes, I'd just like to echo what the director said. It was, and I went back to the AMO board because it was one of the best AMO theme conferences that I've ever been to in probably 20 years of attending them. It was snappy, it was crisp, good ideas. There was a bit of an edge to it in terms of the dialogue from the presenters. They took pride in what they were doing, and I wouldn't say they were defiant, but they were certainly getting the information out there. It wasn't couched in the normal language of, So it's the first time I've seen the whole sector that engaged and that willing to step outside of their box and find partnerships. And I think what most of us in the conversation put it down to was because of COVID, we woke up on March the 20th not knowing what we're going to do. So March 21, in 4 hours, everybody pivoted and started doing, virtual things. And they started approving things based on very quick turnaround of information. And then they reached out to various partners to patch together, and then develop programs that were supportive or met the needs of their community as quickly as possible. And I think that mindset is for the better of the sector has taken over, and you've got a whole pile of innovative people who are doing a lot of reading, doing a lot of talking, doing a lot of meeting, and doing a lot of really neat different things, and they want to share it, and they want to grow. They're not content to being stonewalled or stopped at phase 1. They want to get to phase 10. And so it was one of the best, it seriously was the best conference I've ever been to for a theme where it carried over the 2 days as opposed to just the 1 day and everybody running for home. So kudos to AMO for that and all the participants. And I know I took something like 12 pages of notes with various names and contacts and programs, and I just have to sit down and sort that out, but I'll certainly raise them on a regular basis. So thank you.
Did they use the word attainable?
Well, because the federal, I'm sorry, Chair, because the federal government and the province has not defined that yet, and so FCM and AMO and ROMA is trying to. So Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, we have taken ROMA's definition, which I don't have right in front of me right now. We added another piece to it, and the piece that we added to it was, so their definition, I think, talks about housing being appropriately sized for the number of people in it. Talks about it being matched to their income. Talks about it being in good repair. And the other one is it talks about it, it talks about it being a necessary part of their life, or to those, and I'm really categorizing it, but what we added to it from the Warden's Caucus is we want it to be connected to the community. So you don't go plunking it out like what they did with the Sens Arena 25 years ago, plunking it out in the cornfield and hope like heck somebody comes and builds beside you. We want it to be close to the services. Because mostly rural Ontario doesn't have transportation and services that can come to your home as readily. So that's what we added to it, but I'll certainly circulate it as soon as I cut and paste it from something else. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor from Pembroke?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's rather disturbing to me when you hear that there are a backlog in rents, especially when, our organization is trying to help people, and also the number of cases coming between the tenant landlords board. To me, that sends a signal about attainability, affordability. People that are struggling and that perhaps are living in units that we provide, as a society to give them a hand up, are having difficulty. They can't make the rent that seems to be affordable for them based on what we've said is affordable. And I think it's quite fair based on our formula, what we charge those folks for rent, if they're working, et cetera, based on their income. But they're struggling. And I mean, when I hear, there's a backlog, why is there a backlog? My question is why? They're not paying because they don't want to pay. There's a reason why they can't pay, because they're probably struggling to buy groceries, which have increased, substantially. Cost of everything, gasoline to go to work, etc. So there's got to be some sensitivity by the province to the fact that this is an indicator. Here's a prime indicator of what should be attainable and is not attainable. They have to take a good, hard look at that. I don't think that they're doing what they should be doing. I think, in essence, they're trying to provide a solution, but really they're not looking at the overall picture that's impacting a lot of very vulnerable people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I guess we'll move on now to number 3, which is Town of Renfrew Housing Action Plan. Yes, Councillor from Whitewater?
A question, just twofold. First one is this related to the CMHC funding that's supposed to open up this summer? Is Renfrew the only city centre in the county that is making this plan up? Like, are we seeing similar ones at Petawawa, Pembroke, Empire?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. Town of Empire is working on their own plan. I do not, those are the two that have consulted with our department. I'm not aware of any other municipality currently undergoing a housing action plan, but clearly the Town of Renfrew made it very clear that it's for the funding that opens up in July, and it's part of the requirement to complete consultations as well. Empire is just wrapping up some of their consultations as well, and we've been part of that as in their conversations. Thank you.
Thank you. This may be an opportunity for us to kind of sell this program from a smaller municipality's perspective. It isn't necessarily as achievable as it might be, but I think that maybe regionally we could make efforts to encourage these kinds of housing action plans to occur. And I know it kind of divides you up into more work, but CMHC, this funding opportunity that's coming this summer is a significant opportunity, and you're funded based on your achievements, not by dollars. So if there is a way for us to kind of encourage at least regionally, some of the areas, as an example, Whitewater's divided between Pembroke and Renfrew. I'd love to support both of them in a housing action plan if they were to propose something like that. Could we propose that the county take a little bit of a leadership or mentor role in this in terms of encouraging them to consider it? Is that possible?
Who'd like to take that one?
I'll grab it.
Go ahead.
Thanks. Mentorship, I think that's fine. I think we've got experienced staff. I think we regularly, sorry, through you, Chair, regularly provide mentorship to these groups, and happy to, as you see, sit on these working groups when we have the ability to do so or invited to do so. Interestingly enough, I was just chatting to the director this morning, or at least emailing. The HAF, or the Housing Accelerator Fund, is what's starting, or part of all these working groups that are going on. For those, if you recall, when we brought this forward, the Housing Accelerator Fund is opening in July, early July, for about a 5-week intake process. It's a program that is not funding new housing, it's funding systemic change in housing. Okay, what does that mean? I'll talk about that in a second. It also suggests that municipalities under 10,000 can apply, and those over 10,000 can apply. All right. What about the county? Because we looked into this, and I've talked to my peers, and of course the caucus is looking at the 7 and 7 plan and all these things. The county is not, as an entity, although we're a municipality, is not able to apply to this because we are not in charge of the planning functions, meaning that we don't offer building permits. So right away we are out of the running to suggest anything, regionally or otherwise, as the county entity, to have systemic change in creating housing. And ultimately, the County of Renfrew, through the Housing Corporation, are the ones creating housing. Affordable or social housing or community housing. So purely my opinion, the Housing Accelerator Fund did not do what it was intended to do, and we've had delegations with Minister Hussein at the federal level, and he was touting this new accelerator fund as the be-all and end-all to housing. It's going to solve the problems. Well, from what we're seeing, it's not. It's providing maybe a path forward for those in the planning world who think that we're offering too much red tape, that we can't get building permits out the door. It's not a land issue. It's not a permitting issue. It's a funding issue, right? The developers need to be incentivized, first and foremost, to get these buildings built. And we've heard that time and time again, and we're not seeing that funding available right now. That all said, to your question, sir, is that we're happy to be engaged with any groups, and we have been in the past on seeing that moving forward. I've talked to my colleagues about having developer roundtables, and we're looking at doing that later this year, and getting that feedback and getting to a point where someone is shovel ready, that we may even have an expression of interest, a better partnership if that funding exists. But your point is well taken.
Yes, Councillor from Petawawa.
Thank you, Chair. Through you. So it's interesting to hear that we have two municipalities, Arnprior and Renfrew, that are going through this Attainable Housing Action Plan. I wonder if these two municipalities would be willing to share with other municipalities the process that they're going through, positives, negatives, whether it was worthwhile, whether it was a success or not. It'd be interesting to know how, it's unfolding in those two municipalities, and whether it's going to lead to change. And to your point, Petawawa, we did approve some funding in Petawawa for a housing needs assessment, which we hope to get done in the next 3 months, which I guess is similar to an Attainable Housing Action Plan, because we should get the same or similar kinds of results, we hope anyways.
Yes, Councillor from Pembroke.
Madam Chair, just in response to the very sage comments by the CAO, everyone around this table, their municipalities do issue building permits. And the county, as the entity that oversees, even though we're not a member of the county, we're here in principle to assist and fund. The county, I think, has a relevant role in saying that we, as a county, have the entity of municipalities that issues permits. And because of that, we're looking for a more unique and perhaps a more precise, how would I put it, response from the province in regards to attainable housing. Developers are not in business to lose money. No developer will come and say, well, I'm just here to build a lot of affordable housing because I'm a nice guy. They're there in business to make a profit. And perhaps the province can somehow indicate to them that if you want to proceed with this initial, large development, which is going to benefit everybody, the municipality, et cetera, business, there's got to be some push to say amongst that development that you are going to build, we will not allow it unless you have 5% of attainable housing based on X, whatever that is. Now, I don't know if, the province can do that. The province regulates all of us in other different matters, and they tell us, how we should proceed. I don't see why there isn't a reason, rather than having large-scale development taking place in areas like the Oaks Moraine in southern Ontario, developments that may be coming forward in Whitewater or Arnprior or Pembroke. There's got to be some responsibility by the government to take on the role of saying, this will be attainable housing. People that are seeking attainable housing, part of that unit shall have that. And if they don't have it, then you're not going to build it. Now, maybe that's a little off the beaten track, but I mean, we're regulated in many other aspects. They've passed things down to the municipality over the years. Here you go, you're looking after it now. I think there's got to be a little pushback and a little bit of accountability by the province. If they're saying, well, we understand there's a homeless problem, then bloody well do something about it. Just don't say we know there's a homeless problem. How are we going to fix it? We're trying to do it. The warden's going to the AMO conferences. They're talking about homelessness, but where's the outcome? Tell me where the outcome is. Tell those people in some of our social housing units are having difficulty paying the rent, at a pro rata basis in their favor. They can't do it. It seems rather asinine. Thank you.
Again, thank you, Councillor. But again, you're preaching to the converted here. We certainly do agree with you. And I'm sure people like the warden and our directors that when they do go out and have another ear, whether at the province or elsewhere, I think they probably get the message. Number 4 is senior women living together. Any comments or questions? Number 5, business case staffing increases. Any comments or questions? I think we've already recognized that we do need more. And do we go on now to Ontario divisions or take this as a whole, report as a whole?
You do,
Yeah.
but just before you move on out of Director Lepine's report, if you don't mind, we've done our research, and with respect to the warden, we cannot find a resolution in support of that, the AMO position for the calls to action. So if you wanted to revisit that item number 1 in terms of a resolution from Councillor Nicholson or otherwise, then we could do so.
All right. Would the warden like to?
I would. It's obviously my error. I was to bring it back from AMO, and I thought I had, and I, for some reason, envisioned it even being passed. So I really need to lighten up on the scotch at 11 o'clock at night. So with which I don't drink much of anyway, but I'm certainly going to quit. So with that, if maybe what we could suggest is a recommendation to staff to prepare a motion for County Council recognizing the homelessness initiative from AMO, but with more of a flair of our needs and situations, so in the whereases. Would that make sense to you, Councillor? So I would be prepared to make that motion, or have my friend make the motion and second it, whatever you prepare.
Most certainly. Most certainly.
Perfect.
Thank you. All right. Yes.
So I just need clarification on which is which, who's making the motion and who's seconding it.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
All right. Councillor from Whitewater, seconded by Warden. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. You'll have to forgive me. I run out of memory here. Memory here and memory here. Next on the list, senior women living together. Okay. Yes, I just wondered if there was any more on senior women, but we hadn't heard any more about that. Yes, on to Ontario Works Division report, which is Ms. Andrea Patrick.
Thank you very much, Chair
Thank
Grills.
you.
And through you to the committee, good afternoon, members of Community Services Committee. My report starts on page 6 of your package. Information item number 1 is to advise you of the retirement of one of our senior Ontario Works caseworkers in our Pembroke office. Ms. Brenda Jolliker has announced her retirement effective July 31st. She has been with the corporation for over 25 years, and I can tell you from firsthand experience that the smile that Brenda comes to work with every day is as big now as it was on the day that she started. She has brought so much warmth and positive energy to our team, and she has helped so many individuals in our community. She is really going to be missed by all of us in community services and all of her clients, but we wish her the very, very best in this next chapter of her life. Item number 2 is the social assistance caseload forecast. This is an annual exercise conducted by the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services. It is compiled using both social assistance data and labor market information, and is to be used by municipalities for planning purposes only. The report is attached for your information as appendix number 2, and you will find the information about the County of Renfrew on page 4 of the report. Item number 3, Renfrew County Risk Watch. So this committee may recall back at the April committee meeting, I had brought this item to your attention. This is an OPP initiative where they have formed this table, which is consisting of multiple community and social services agencies within the County of Renfrew, with the purpose of identifying individuals in our community who are at an acutely elevated risk of harm to themselves or others, and to provide coordinated and immediate supports in order to prevent a crisis. Our primary representative on this committee is Ms. April Muldoon, who's one of the Ontario Works supervisors, and we do as well our secondary chair or backup chair is one of our community housing caseworkers. Ms. Muldoon has also been asked to sit on the steering committee for this group, so she will be a part of, helping to facilitate other agencies' participation and making some decisions that will benefit the table. I can tell you that since we have been at this table in April, we have brought 4 cases from community services forward to the table, and all of them have met the threshold for acutely elevated risk and have had coordinated interventions. So this is a very effective tool that is being used to help plan some coordinated and collaborative responses by multiple service agencies. The County of Renfrew is providing boardroom space for the meetings, which are conducted bi-monthly, so both in our Renfrew County Place and here at the County Administration Building, as we do have boardrooms that are large enough to accommodate all of the participants as well as the technology necessary to effectively run hybrid meetings. And we're very pleased to have this a table and to be a part of it, and we're certainly seeing that it's helping us to provide some really effective collaborative supports for some at-risk individuals in our community. And just one additional item, if I may, with the chair's indulgence, I just wanted to let this committee know that we have added a community resources section on the County of Renfrew website under the community services area. This is not an exhaustive list of all community resources in Renfrew County. It is some of the most commonly referred to by our staff or commonly accessed by some of the families. So I just wanted to let you know, if you visit the county website and go to the community services section, the community resources may be helpful for some of you or other individuals in your community who are looking for some information quickly. Just as an example, there is one link to food banks in Renfrew County, so it lists all of the food banks in Renfrew County, their locations and hours of operation. So just wanted to bring that to this committee's attention. Thank you, Chair. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Going back to number 1, Ontario Works Agent. Please wish Ms. Joliker the very best of retirements. There's lots to do, as I've found out. Number 2, social assistance caseload forecast update. Yes, Councillor from Petawawa.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Andrea, how is the new entity that's administering our programs? How is that going? Or is it too early to say?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Service, are you referring to the Employment Services transformation, which we're preparing for that in the fall? October 1st is our go-live date. So too early to say, but we are actively preparing for that and doing training. So we'll see what the fall brings in terms of the province's move towards a new way of helping those who are employable on our caseloads to get service through Employment Ontario and hopefully find employment. So we'll see what impact that has on the caseload forecast come the fall. So I'll certainly keep you updated.
Thank you. Any other questions on that? Renfrew County Risk Watch. Seeing no questions. Number 4, the new community resources that you just mentioned. I'm delighted to hear about that, mainly because we can put that on our own websites and point people to it. Thank you. The report as a whole, can I have a mover and seconder? No? Okay, childcare. All right. Oh, we go to childcare. And the child care report is prepared by Margot Smith.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee, good afternoon. The child care report begins on page 15 of your package. Information item number 1, Early Childhood Educators Qualifications Upgrade Program. I'm very pleased to be able to share that the province has reopened this program to assist eligible individuals with support in obtaining their early childhood education diplomas. The website that's listed in the report, it's quite detailed and lists all of the potential grants and eligibility criteria as well as the application process. We will certainly be sharing this information widely with the childcare and early years community in the County of Renfrew, as it is an option to assist potentially with the ECE workforce shortage. On that note as well, you may have also seen information released in the news last week from the Ministry of Education about a plan to increase wages for ECEs to address the recruitment and retention issues within the workforce. There has been no further information on the finer details of this plan, but we will certainly be continuing to follow this very closely. Item number 2, the 2023 Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare System Update Memo. So the attached memo in your package dated May 24th is an update to the information released in late December 2022, where the Ministry of Education provided a memo to all service system managers with their notional CWELC space creation targets for the years 2022 to 2026, which included both school-based and community-based spaces. The County of Renfrew has been allocated 427 spaces for this time period, and each municipality was asked by the ministry to report on their allocated numbers and what projects were already approved and in progress, as well as what communities could see the potential for growth based on the access and inclusion framework. The ministry has adjusted our CWELC funding allocation for 2023 based on the space increases that are in progress this year, as can be seen on page 21 of the report. This includes an adjustment to the CWELC fee reduction and workforce compensation funding, administration funding for municipalities, and a startup grant allocation to help get new spaces ready for operation. In the County of Renfrew, there are several projects that have been completed or are in the process of being completed between 2022 and 2024 that we are aware of, and this accounts for most of the spaces that are allocated within our growth plan. This is good news in that there have been and will be new CWELC spaces created in the county that are already moving forward, but it is also recognized that this may impact any new expansion projects or license revisions that are proposed to us. This impact is shared by many municipalities across the province, and our first opportunity as municipal partners to speak with the ministry on this new memo and all the information that's entailed within it is tomorrow afternoon. So we are hoping to gain a better understanding of this information and our role as service system managers throughout the province as the Seawell system continues to evolve. Should I stop there, Chair? The next item is a bylaw.
Yes, thank you. Do we have any questions for number 1, Early Childhood Educators Qualifications Upgrade Program? I'd be really interested in the, if you get any interest in this, because I know of a number of ECE specialists who do not want to go back after the pandemic. So I'm just interested in how this will play out in general. I'm hoping it works. Number 2, 2023 Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare System Update Memo. Yes, Councillor from Petawawa.
Thank you, Chair. Through you. I understand it's still in its early stages, this system update memo. But I'd be very interested in finding out information on specific municipalities in terms of, I know it talks about growth needs, and are they going to be coming out with statistics on individual municipalities and be able to say to us, here's what we think your growth is, here's what we think your needs are, and here's how many spaces we will think you need for the future?
Through you, Chair, to committee, thank you for the question. Right now, we're in the process of, they've allocated us a certain number of spaces, and the school-based spaces I can speak to. There are projects that have been in play now for a couple of years, even prior to the pandemic, and those spaces, because they have not been fully created or they've been created very recently, are a part of this growth allocation already, and so those communities are already listed within our growth plan, our directed growth plan. So, for example, I can speak to the fact that there's a new daycare center that opened in Petawawa, Bamunzi, and there is new spaces being allocated in a new build in Pembroke at the Francophone school, Coeur de Jeune in Pembroke, as well as there is a new school being built, a new Francophone school being built in Arnprior as well, which will have a child care center attached to it as well. So all of those spaces are counted in our 427. So those communities have already been identified, kind of pre-identified, and certainly we are looking to get more information.
I think we have another follow-up here, and then we'll go to Councillor Whitewater.
Thank you, Chair. And just, I'm not sure if the question, you wanted to know what other municipalities are getting in terms of their allocation of spaces, and we do have a part of the document, page 22, shows each service system manager and what their total space allocations are. So we get a picture as to how we are compared to other communities across the province. Thank you.
Councillor for Whitewater.
Thank you, Chair. And I ask these questions fully acknowledging that you have your meeting tomorrow. So just so you can get a gauge of the interest. When I look at the table that's provided, I think on page 22, it shows 0 new spaces in 25 and 26. I'm assuming they're anticipated we're not going to have any need for any more additional spots in 25 and 26. We're one of the only municipalities listed on the page that receives 0 in both years. I'm disappointed in that, and especially without the context as to why. And the second thing is they've allocated us 427 spots, but I'm not sure with what the demand is. Is the demand 800 and they're giving us half? Where are those spots allocated across the county? Where are the demands still that we need to try to advocate to fill? I too probably have the same questions you guys have already thought of, but I just wanted to echo it publicly that I'm looking forward to what you get back from your meeting tomorrow. Thank you.
I think we'll all be waiting for that. Councillor from Pembroke.
Just a curiosity, CFB Petawawa, do they fall under the mandate of childcare as well? Are they separate because they're a federal facility? I'm just curious.
Through you, Chair, to committee, the PMFRC holds many licensed childcare centers, and they definitely fall within, we're service system manager for them as well. And if I may, just in relation to Councillor from Whitewater's comments, certainly the ministry has committed to the service system managers that they will review these numbers and space allocations year over year, and certainly to your points about the numbers that are projected for us into the next couple of years, we will be addressing that with the ministry for sure.
Thank you. We will move on to bylaws.
Thank you, Chair. So the bylaw amendment to bylaw 50-17, County of Renfrew new licensed home agreement. I'll go ahead and read the recommendation. The recommendation is that the Community Services Committee recommend to County Council that bylaw number 50-17, authorizing the County of Renfrew to enter into an agreement with licensed home childcare service providers, be amended to enter into an agreement with Kate Green.
Can I have mover and seconder, please? Moved by Councillor from Whitewater and seconded by Councillor Petawawa. Continue with the background.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. As mentioned in the background, our team here in the Child Care and Early Years Division directly operate a licensed home child care agency, and we currently have 8 open homes within our agency, and this new home that we would be looking to get approval for is located on Sandy Beach Road in Laurentian Valley.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Carried. Report as a whole. Can I have mover and seconder, please? Moved by Councillor from Killaloe Haggerty Richards and seconded by Councillor from Petawawa. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried. Is there any new business? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chair. And just to say the obvious, if you drive by Lee and Douglas, the hole has been dug. I think the forms are going in this week, as I understand it, to pour the cement for the pad. There was not. We're holding off on a ceremony to celebrate the digging, the build, until such time as we deal with some of the funding agencies that are helping us build this. So people have been asking, why aren't we putting the golden shovel in the ground? Well, we put it in and we're actually building it, but we haven't celebrated to the fact. So again, thanks to Laura and to Jason and all the staff involved with getting it to where we are. Kevin and Dennis and our real estate department are really busy with this one, but it's things are progressing quite well. We hit a few snags at the beginning, but things are progressing well, and we're hoping for better weather, that they continue, and you should start to see some real solid evidence of building going on in the next month or so.
That's great news. If we've learned anything in the last 3 years, it's about snags. No new business, no closed meeting at this time. And the date of the next meeting is August 16th, 2023. And am I missing anything? Tell me. No, okay. May I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn this meeting? Petawawa and Pembroke. All those in favor? Thank you. We are adjourned.